And a wonderful day to you. This is Owen McCafferty. Would like to, first of all, acknowledge Professional Fusion, thanking them for their sponsorship of this narrative. And we are continuing in our discussion on technology as just a basic conceit, an overview, and some thinking in terms of implementing technology wisely. We talked before about what are the costs of technology, both the stated cost that relates to the direct cost of acquisition, the indirect costs of implementation and training. We talked specifically about the difficulty and when you lose people who may know the technology that you just purchased, but you yourself do not. And now you've got to go back to square one and try to implement that technology. I'd like now to talk about one of the big issues, and that is the issue of how long it's going to take to finally get to a point of advantage. And for that purpose, I'd like to refresh what we talked about in the first series, but I'd also like to talk with you about anticipation of what it really means. Now, some of you know what the term break-even analysis is, or terms. Break-even analysis is you take the fixed costs plus the variable costs, plus any profit that you're praying and hoping that you would be able to sustain, and you divide all of the sum of those three elements by the number of units that you think you're going to sell in the course of a year to see that you get to a break-even point. Now, usually the formula is fixed cost and variable cost gives you break-even, but only a flaming lunatic or someone who sees their practice as a hobby, and there's quite a few in all the professions, that would implement a technology and not anticipate some sort of profit from it. So I always throw in the break-even analysis fixed cost, variable cost, and profit divided by the number of units that you estimate that you really are going to incur. Now, they could be transactional procedures, they could be man hours, they could be fixed fees, like a packaged price for that segment of the service on that technology. But whatever the case may be, remember that this break-even analysis with a prayer for profit is really just the first starting point. The question then becomes, do you really get it in year one? Do you really get it in 6 months? Do you get it in a month? The timeline of what it really means to be profitable from the acquisition of technology becomes a major part of the discussion. So in technology, we're always optimistic. We think, oh, gee whiz, this is not only going to provide us with an income stream, this will enhance our competencies and underline our ability to be cutting edge, no pun intended, in the profession. Everyone will know us because of this technology, and regardless of whether we make any money on it, it's just going to be needed as part of our reputation. Well, that's a good theory, but your clients, your patients, really don't understand that what you do. In fact, quite frankly, it's all magic. And you might feel that the technology that you've just acquired, even though it's not going to be too profitable, is prestigious, so that you would hope that your clients or patients would think of you immediately and say, boy, that doctor, that practice, they are really doing well. I want to go there because they're really at the top of their game. Well, it would be a rare person to really understand that, because anything that you do is considered magic. So really what you got to ask yourself is, in adding this technology, is it going to be financially profitable? Now, why would I be saying that? Well, first of all, technology, when it's first adopted, and that could be 1, 2, or 3 years, doesn't necessarily provide profit, and in fact could degrade and take from the profit hope that exists in practice, because you're so focused in on the implementation, you can't generate a profit. And in fact, there's probably a loss on some transactions up front. We've all heard the electronic vehicle saga that occurred over the last few years, and how some companies that tried to jump into the fray, into the fury of really trying to be on top of the game without adequate preparation, we're losing money on a per unit basis sold. And in fact, we're losing a lot of money on a per unit basis sold. Take that realization and then apply it to your practice. Are you adopting a technology that you really, really hope will be capable of providing a profit, but not today? Well, we don't know when, but not today. So when you're looking at the turnaround time for the profitability, you almost have to build in some acquisitions, negative profit, that is loss, because it's going to take some time for you to get up to speed. Remember in the prior webcast, we talked about the difficulty it takes for some people to learn the technology. And when you lose people, when people go from one practice to another, you may be transferring an experience and a knowledge base that goes to your competitor. So you got to budget for that. You got to look at it. So let's assume that it does make money. When we're looking at what that practice is going to do, you also have to budget what's going to happen when the technology changes. When something brand new happens, you're going to be able to budget that into the process too. So it's not only the acquisition cost, it's not only the implementation, it's not the education, both of the original initiators, but also those that have to follow. And it's not necessarily the difficulty of others in the practice, either directly related to the technology or indirectly in explaining to the patients or clients why that technology is valuable. But you have to ask yourself, am I going to be really able to make a profit? Now, I used the term break-even analysis, and I would like you to consider it. Your accountant can help you in it. It's really not rocket science, or your practice manager or administrator should have a pretty good understanding. This is not necessarily a focused algorithm. It's a very simple arithmetic narrative that requires addition and division. Addition for adding together the fixed cost, the variable cost, and the profit, and the division in determining the number of transactional units, be they in hours, procedures, or wrapped in funds that are required to displace all of those costs and throw a profit your way. So with all of that in mind, this is Owen McCafferty. We're not done yet. We have a third part on technology, but just to throw these ideas out for your consideration. And again, I want to say thank you very much for joining me, and we'll be exploring other items in the future. You take care.